Hello, everybody. Gaz Williams here, and welcome to my show. I think this is going to be quite an interesting one tonight, because we're going to be looking at the Klavis, the Twin Waves Mark II, which is a Eurorack module. It's like an oscillator, dual VCO, or you can make them LFOs. So we'll be having a good little look around it. I did talk about it briefly on my show last week, and I felt that I really should kind of have a little look at it. So first things first. Oh, here's the setup. Got a little oscilloscope here in the action now. Same kind of setup as we were using last week, using the Oxy and some other things. I'm not really going to be using this much. I might use a bit of the Oneroy for some effects. Who knows? Maybe a bit later. I mean, the camera angle's a bit rubbish for that. It's focused like that, so we can get close in on the Klavis, or close enough, hopefully. Just want to say before we get cracking is hello to everybody in the chat room. Thank you very much for joining me. Stream live UK time. Was doing at 8 o'clock, going a little bit later now, just dipping the toe in the water really to see what this slightly later time frame is like. Hopefully it's better for our American friends, of which there are many. So but appreciate it's quite late for my European friends, especially mainland Europe. So we'll see. But nice to see a nice group of people though joining me. And just getting stuff going here. Yeah, okay, good. So hi Bill. Hey Tom Curtin. Hi. Oh, Mr. Egan. Royalty. Brilliant. Lovely to hear from you. Ryan, my good buddy Ryan, and my good buddy Tom. Yeah, so yes, and Jim Glue. Yeah, very good. It's a nice. Hey Jack. Okay. Bill Smith. So okay. Simon Greatbatch. Hello. Okay. I'm afraid I probably won't be that. I'll probably miss a lot of comments, but I'm gonna again. If you put like a double Q before any questions, then that'll help me see it. But please don't ask me questions unless I'm looking at the comments, because they whiz by and then I miss them. So but yeah, let's have a look. So yeah, so what we've got then, as I mentioned then, is these Klavis, this Twin Waves. I've had this a while now, and I feel that it's maybe goes under the radar a little bit. It has some similarities to the wonderful Platts from Mutable Instruments and all of the various clones, in as much as it's a multi-oscillator. It's a digital oscillator, and called the Twin Waves. There's two entirely independent oscillators that can be set to be either audio or LFO. And there's some really interesting internal normalizing. So I know Bill asked me at the top, he's got the version 1. So he's curious about whether you'd need to upgrade from the version 1 to the version 2. And that's, so the version 1 and the version 2 are very, very similar, but you get these additional little pots on the version 2, which we'll explain over the course of this evening. But the gist of it basically means that you've got some normalizing and some little attenuators for that normaling, or whether you are going in with CV. But yeah, we'll have a little look at some of those features. Now, this is an absolute feature-packed little module. So it's 8 HP, which is pretty small in Eurorack form, but is a few things I think just before we actually get into the sound. It's got really nice build quality. These knobs, the top one has kind of got notches on there. Which is nice. It feels nice and precise. The bottom one isn't. That's just a smooth one. And then you've got this fine and level control in the middle there, and then the 3 little trimmer pots along there too. So yeah, it's got a lot of things in there. Now I have got a bit of information to hand that I'll refer to, which is to do with the algorithm tables, because there is quite a lot. And this top knob here, this parameter knob, well, it has two main functions. If you press it, it allows you to pick which one of the different oscillators that you're using, and then press it to confirm it, and then it becomes a control that's specific to that model of oscillator that you brought in. I say model, is that the right term for this? Algorithm, probably better. Yeah, so we'll say algorithm. So an example being here, our default, our one in the first slot here is a sine wave, and then if I was to to turn this, ooh, got my hairy arm in the way. This will act like a kind of wave shaper, or to be more accurate, wave symmetry. And and then if I was to select that, move on to the next one, which is like a square wave, then you've guessed it, this control then would be like the pulse width, and so forth. So as you go through the different algorithms, that knob then will do things specific to that particular algorithm, and that makes it pretty cool because you can modulate this this parameter, and you can modulate it either with a CV or with the normaling. So you can modulate it from the second wave. Now we'll get more into that kind of stuff as we progress. And let me think what else. So you've got three outputs. You've got output for the like wave one, oscillator one, and you've got an output for oscillator two. But you've also got a secondary output for oscillator one, which is like a sub octave, and it's it's just like a square wave. Now our signal path is, I won't go into it too much, but two outputs of this are coming into this dual envelope VCA from Doepfer. Both of the outputs are coming out of this and coming into the stereo filter, and then the stereo filter is feeding the MFX from ALM. Now I've actually got it. I'm summing this into mono now for the purpose of for now, but we will open up some stereo as we go along. Oh, here's an interesting thing here from the Slinky Weasel. Hello, Slinky Weasel. You have the Mark I. It's so good you didn't feel the need to upgrade. Klavis is a cool company for sure. Yeah, I agree. So yes, the version 1 and the version 2, they sound identical. They've got all the same algorithms. It's just the version 2, as I say, gives you these extra little trim pots here, I think. There might be some other differences, but that's the basic difference. But as I mentioned, it's an absolute feature-packed oscillator. One of the most feature-packed that I know, really. Platts being its closest sort of rival, I guess. But they're both quite different from each other. But yeah, so now the CV ins that we've got, you can't really tell here because of all these cables, but we've got 2 volt per octave inputs, one for each of the waves. We've also got a sync and a clock input, which I'm using as a clock, and then you can use that clock then for synchronizing LFOs. So if it's in LFO mode, this input is used as a clock input. If it's in the oscillator mode, then it's used as a sync input. And so speaking of sync, there's quite a lot of sync facility with this as well. So I know I'm moving a little bit quickly through everything without any sounds, but we'll do a bunch of sounds as well. But the sync, when you press the sync switch, you get a few options, like no sync. We get like a soft sync and then a hard sync as well. Without anything patched in, I think the sub-octave is normaled to the sync input. So yeah, normalizing is the name of the game with the Mark II here. Yeah, reasonably priced as well. Yeah, I think I had a look at the price earlier. I think Elevator in Bristol have got it for about £209. So considering how much stuff is in there, I think, yeah, that's really good. Hey, Red Walks, hello. Yeah, so other CV inputs then, we have an input for both parameter. So we can say parameter 1 for oscillator 1 and parameter 2 for oscillator 2. And that is indeed normaled. So yeah, so oscillator 2 is feeding parameter 1 input. So if we don't have that patched, like that one currently that isn't patched, then this little trim pot then will allow a certain amount of oscillator 2 to come in and to sort of modulate our waveform, well, to move our parameter here. And we can do some really cool stuff with this. Again, we'll delve in as we go along. Okay, I was mentioning about signal path. I didn't actually finish everything there with signal path. So it comes into the MFX. Now I've got the MFX currently kind of bypassed. Well, I say bypassed. I've got the mix turned to 0. And the reason why it isn't bypassed is because that's actually acting as a mono sum at the moment. But we've got some nice Juno type chorus ensemble kind of effects that we can bring in. And it does sound really good on this. But I'll leave that at 0 for now. Then the output of that's coming in into the Oniroid. Oh yeah, I did mention that, yeah. And then so the Oniroid can apply some effects to that as well. Yeah, okay, so I think it's time we should start making some sounds. I think it might be quite cool. This is my idea for tonight, I think, really, because I've had this module for quite a while, but I realised I hadn't really gone in anywhere near as deep as the module deserves. So I thought we could do that together. And each of the algorithms are, they're quite different from each other. So there's a lot of different sort of tonal sounds with this. And of course, being able to use it as an LFO as well makes it an extremely powerful LFO. Oh yeah, there was one more thing as well. So in terms of before we go on any further, there's another input here, which is this middle input, which is for our FM input or amplitude mod or AM input. But there's actually quite a few things you can set that to do. So we'll have a look at some of that as well, hopefully, if we get time. But one of the functions that you can do is it can work as an input as a VCA. So this has a VCA built in only for the first oscillator. I did actually get in touch with Klavis to ask them if there was any way that in firmware that they could make it possible to be able to control a VCA for oscillator 2, and they said no, it's just no. it won't. It's not set up like that. So but yeah, so I think, yeah, that's all our inputs and outputs covered. But yeah, there's a few things here on the buttons that are worth mentioning. I mentioned then the sync menu that we can go into. Then there's this middle button here. If we're in the LFO mode, it basically lets you choose between an internal or an external clock for clocking the LFO. If it's internally clocked, then our coarse and fine controls come into play, so we can dial in a particular LFO rate. But if you set it to external clock, then this coarse control, oh, actually, no, I think the level control stays the same. This coarse control controls a clock division or a clock multiplication. This little display will show us what degree of multiplication or division we've got. And the fine, and then what's the fine control in the oscillator mode becomes a level control for the strength of our LFO. So really, really handy. And then, as I mentioned, then the normaling is oscillator 1 going into the parameter for 1. And then there is something that you do have to bear in mind, though, if you are using it. So if I switch here, this is toggling. You can see that oscillator 2 lights up blue. There's a little red light there. This is this is indicating that oscillator 2 is in LFO mode, and when it's in and also we've got it here, the clock mode is set to external clock, and then when I turn this, it'll show us on the screen whether it's, you know, dividing or multiplying that incoming clock, which is super handy. But something to bear in mind is if we are using this LFO to modulate oscillator 1, then you've actually got a duplication of controls. This one here, well, sort of, this one here is how much oscillator 2 affects oscillator 1, but this level control, if that level control was down and we turned this up, then we wouldn't get anything through. So you just have to remember to, you know, make sure you've got signal coming through out to be able to then route it into oscillator 1. Okay, a lot of this will make more sense with some examples. Right, okay, let's get back here, oscillator 1. Let's get a sound up, I guess. So let's get this running. Yeah, I'll use the Oxy. I'm actually using a PAMS. I'm using a PAMS here as the clock, so we can see it stops the Oxy, restarts. So clocking is coming from this PAMS. We've got a whole bunch of outputs going in. I've also got here the Axon 2, which is the input expander for the PAMS that gives us a bunch of, well, extra CV inputs, but I really like it for using it as an offset generator. So basically it gives me 4 assignable controls that I can affect the PAMS with. Okay, let's see what else. We've got something really basic going on. Okay, let's go back here. Really basic sequence first, just to start with. Let's go back here. Let's start on our sine wave. So we'll go and we'll work our way through the algorithms. We'll do this fairly quickly, just so we can get a little gist of what's going on inside of here. So yeah, we've got our. If I can turn this oscillator on as well here. There we go, it's got a signal. In fact, if I do this, it's a bit, there we go. We got a little oscilloscope, so we can see the waveform as I go in negative there, and then positive, so we can see what's going on. Put it back to the middle, back to sine. Okay, I'm going to fly through these now. Okay, here's our square wave now. Just bring that level down a little bit. There's that. It's not the squarest square. Okay, next, I'm going to have to refer to things here. Yeah, we've got a saw triangle. So what this one does in this mode, it will move like a wave shape then from a sine into a saw, or a negative if we go negative there. Yeah. Sorry, it's a really dull sequence to make it a bit jazzier. Okay, so that, yeah. Back to the sine there. Okay, so again, I'll just I'm going to go into the fourth one now, which is so things start getting interesting here. This next one is a quad saw, so we've got it's a 4 saw wave oscillator. Let's turn that on. There we go. And then the algorithm control then is the phase spreading of the 4 saw waves. So each one of these algorithms are kind of interesting, and all as you'll see, it gets more interesting as you go along through it. Okay. So essentially, you can group these first ones that we've looked at, these first 4, they're kind of like, you know, your more typical analog oscillators. But now we're going to go into these additive oscillators here. So we've got like a 7 sine oscillator, okay, and then as in with all good additive. This is adding now in this mode even, it's all even harmonics that it's adding. Yeah. And then, so that's the even one. Then we got the odd. It's all kind of familiar tones. It's got a nice, good, solid sound though. Okay, and then we've got the next one is all, so it's both odd and even harmonics. Like so. Okay, let's get into slightly more interesting territory now. So we've got a unison square now, and this is 3 square oscillators, and the parameter control changes the detuning. Great stuff, isn't it? Classic synth stuff, really. So again, as I mentioned, you know, we've got this CV control of this knob that I'm turning, and we can in fact use the oscillator 2, the second of the twin waves, to modulate this parameter as well. Okay, next one, we got the unison saw, which gives us 5 saws, and then again with a detuning control. Such a grim melody. Let's make it more interesting. I'll just change it up a little bit. I know. I think I might even get an arpeggiator on the go instead. I don't want to get too waylaid with sequencing. We will do some more. It'll do for now. You just get used to it. All right. So yeah, we're just flicking through these. Sorry, I should just check the chat room. Everyone all right? Yeah, cool. All right. I will come back to you in a minute, chatties. I'm using the screen to look at what all of these things, these modes are doing. So I can't see any chat at the moment. Okay. So where we're at. Okay. So now we're into the next one's quite interesting. We get like a bit crushed saw now. So the bit crushed saw, and then the parameter gives us, oh yeah, you can hear that bit crushing then. So that's a bit crushed saw. And then the next one we got a bit crushed sine. So similar kind of thing, but with the sine. Okay. Now these next ones are cool. They are right. It's what they call the self sync, and so you've got 5 here. You've got the self-sync, square, a pulse, saw, triangle, and sine. And what these do is, let's just stop this for a moment. There's like a kind of phantom oscillator, so you can get the sync sounds up without having to use up your other waveform for this. So that can still be doing whatever else you want that to be doing. So it kind of creates an additional oscillator. So these self-synced ones, then they have this kind of slave oscillator, and then the parameter control controls the frequency of the slave oscillator. Allowed to use that word anymore? Sorry. Let's have a look. So let's get that going again. Okay, let's move into that one. So basically, let's look on the screen here. You can see there's 2 dots next to the indicator of the waveform, and that's to indicate anyone with the 2 dots there are ones that have got this additional oscillator. Okay, so select that, and you get those classic sync sounds. I'll just quickly flick through these then. So yeah, that's our square. Like a pulse then. Yeah. Saw. You get the gist of this now. You can hear, because this pot is notched, in some cases, one click makes a sort of like a kind of big difference. In fact, you can hear some stair stepping there. This isn't a problem at all if we're using it with CV. Okay, triangle. We can imagine this sound. And sine. So really cool. Now, we've also got a ring modulator. And yeah, this is the secondary oscillator frequency. Yeah. Some classic ring mod stuff. And then the last 3, these are quite cool. These are quite different. The last 3 then gives us 3 noises. We've got a noise source with a low pass filter. And then the course control becomes a filter cutoff, and the parameter becomes resonance control. And then the next one is we get a bandpass, same kind of deal, but with a bandpass filter. And you guessed it, we've also got oh no, there's not a high pass. We've actually got a resonator. The last one is a noise resonator, which is quite cool. So you can do some, oops. So again, remember, this is a twin waves, and each of the oscillators can be any of these modes. So if you wanted to use one of these noise sources as one half of it, you know, well, basically any oscillator can be any of these models. Okay, so that was, I'm just flicking through that kind of quickly, really. So those are the algorithms, the oscillator algorithms. But mentioned though, it can also be an LFO as well, which is cool. But when you turn it into LFO mode, then it presents you with different different algorithms. Which I'm just having a look if in the manual I can see what they are. I think they're fairly obvious from the little graphics of them, but let's just, I've got to flick over to oscillator 2. Let's get this back up here. Oh, look at this. Nicholas Bryant, you still have the Twin Wave Mark 1 and still exploring it after 6 years. Well, that bodes well. Yeah, great. So as I mentioned then earlier, when you go into either mode, really, this top button will toggle whether it is in LFO or oscillator mode, and this red light is indicating that we are in oscillator mode. Sorry, in LFO mode. Duh. Now, did you see on the screen there? It's actually showing an arrow which is pointing to. It's like an arrow. You can't. If I tilt it up a little bit more, there we go. It's like an arrow and that's saying. So it's like a pickup. It's like a pickup. It's saying, if you want to set this knob, if you want to make this knob effective, then you've got to turn it left, turn it left, turn it left. Look, it's going a little bit flashing, and now it's become, it's gained the control. So this is a way, because we're going between our one set of controls for our two, entirely independent oscillators. It's a way of getting around that. But like, if we look then in the algorithm, we've got like we've got a saw to triangle wave. Ooh, yeah, I can see that. Which will kind of wave shape across to that. And then we've got like a pulse width again, with pulse width modulation. Then we've got a sine, and then I think, yeah, we get a random. Oh, let me just see what the difference is here. I'm just having a quick flick through the manual just to see if it's got the algorithms for the oscillator. I'm just going to see what all of the LFOs are. But oh god, I mean, as I'm flicking through this manual, it's oh, here we go. Yeah, great. Right. Yes, we've got the saw, triangle, square pulse, sine with wave symmetry, just like the the oscillator mode. Right. Okay, then we get a Brownian sample and hold with a randomness, a random level, randomness delta between 0 and 100%. Then we get randomly timed sample and hold with the parameter affecting spacing regularity, cyclic to random. Then we get Brownian vectors. So actually that's quite nice with the vectors then. So as opposed to it jumping around, it's going to kind of go in, well, you get the randomness delta, so it can deviate along its path. And then finally we get randomly timed vectors. So, which says, and then the algorithm change there is the spacing regularity, cyclic to random. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Then the audio oscillator gives you a set of algorithms, and then the LFO gives you a different set of algorithms. A little bit of an overlap, but largely quite a different thing. And again, as I mentioned, either oscillator can be either. and can be any. So you don't have any limitation in that way. So you could set both up to be sort of Brownian vectors, LFOs. Yeah, there's a lot of neat and clever thinking with this module. Just checking in with chat room. Hope it's all good. Yeah. What I want to do is I want to get some stuff going and then get some modulation going on it, because that's the name of the game with this thing. So let's get our rubbishy little sequence going again. Still set on noise. I'm gonna go to one of the self sync. I'll go to the self sync. Okay, let's get this running. Got some filtering here. You know, I'll just jump ahead. I'll just get into this kind of. I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit. Ooh. The dreaded bagpipes. Okay. The effects just make it all sound great. So, let's get some modulation going then, with oscillator 2 modulating oscillator 1. So as I mentioned, without it patched, then this little knob is going to bring in our LFO. So if I change the control now to LFO2. So this normaling then, again, I mentioned earlier, is something that's new to the Mark II model. The Mark II's been out for a while now. It's I'll try this Brownian vector now. I'll do it slow. Back off the effects. Dry. So we can hear it kind of course through that, you know, again. And these controls, even though I'm in oscillator 2, these controls are locked, you know, so this is affecting that oscillator, that LFO affecting oscillator 1. Try a different mode on here. Faster. Oh. So I can modulate this with an input 2. Now I've got a modulation source coming from the Oxy sequencer that can modulate this oscillator 2. You know, which I'll set up that in a moment. Oh, there's bags of stuff I haven't even mentioned yet on this oscillator, because it does indeed have a pitch quantizer built in as well, which isn't super important in this particular setup because the Oxy has also got pitch quantizers going in. But obviously you could just be plugging just raw LFOs in and then using the pitch quantizer. Yeah. I'll go to one of the additive, change the harmonics of the additive with the LFO. Let's make it choppier with a square pulse. Oh, this melody. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something. Let's just stop this a moment. Just insanity-inducing melody. So I'm going to make things a little bit nicer sounding. Using the Oxy, I'm going to change its mode here. It's just like, you know, standard kind of sequencer. I'm going to change this mode. I'm going to change it into a stochastic. Well, I talked about this at depth last week. So let's give this something, and then because I changed what the sequencer is, I just need to repatch its so I'm track 4, coming oscillator, there we go, we'll do this and this, and then okay. We'll have our sequence evolve. I won't go into the details of this. I was going on about that last week. Right, let's get back to this now. So yeah, all effects off. So everything that we're hearing then is the self kind of self-modulating aspect of this. I'm just thinking I might put an LFO in and use the pitch quantizer. I don't think I've ever done that because I've always used it with pitch quantizers, but what's going on with this? Oh, I know. Let's give this more. This needs more scale notes. This will get more interesting now. You just get a lot in 8 HP. I think that's one of the real kind of the strongest points of this. It's there's a lot of functionality. Okay, so like I mentioned, then we've got different outputs. We've also got a square wave that I've got routed here, so we could bring in some square wave. this on a separate envelope, VCA envelope here. It's nice having different subdivisions of the incoming clock. You can have it really slow now. Let's see what it'll go to. 64 step. Oh, well, a division of 64. So, it's a nice slow LFO. Oops. Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned then I'm going to set up a modulation route using the Oxy. So let's see, I'm using CV4. So I'm using CV4. I want it to modulate channel track 4. So I'll turn that on and I'll set it as a mod. And I'm going to set it as mod 1. Oops. Mod 1. Okay, cool. So I'm going to mod, turn this on now. Let's turn this up here. Sorry, I know just the last few columns, that's the end of the Oxy, just where my hand is. Sorry, I could have framed this better. So our Oxy then is sending, yeah. Let's make this, actually, I'll make this. Doesn't sound like it's doing very much, does it? No. Why is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Definitely 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Channel. Oh, that's all set right. Let's make it. Let's change this up then. I think it's doing something, but it's not as obvious as I was hoping it would be. So I'll just put some modulations in here so it jumps around. Oh, I know why. Let's turn that all the way down there. Here we go. I forgot to set this. So now, yeah. So we've got quite a lot of modulation going on here. But again, with this Mark II, then it's allowing us to you know, to attenuate how much. So if I have it just small amounts. Let's get psychedelic again. Here we go. some sort of transposition. Get some filtering on here as well. So what I'll do in a moment then is I'm going to change the patching around. So instead of having our second out channel be in the sub oscillator, I'll have it be in, I'll change oscillator 2 from LFO mode into the audio oscillator mode. You can hear this additive. It does sound quite organ-like, doesn't it now? Okay, right, nice. So, cool, really cool, multifunctional oscillator. You know, as I say, in a very small package. I guess this is one of the advantages of digital oscillators. I mean, this has got many digital oscillator kind of features, the whole pitch quantizing and various stuff like that. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to change the patching briefly. So I'm going to switch that over. I'm going to give myself, okay, oscillator 2. I'm going to go in, let's get a close up here. I'm going to set oscillator 2 now. I'm going to turn it off from LFO. So, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about the little lock icon as well. So in both modes, we can lock, we can lock the pitch. And the way we press these two buttons together, we can see there's a little padlock icon there. If we push the two buttons together, then it'll lock the pitch knob. And the great thing is it turns the pitch knob into just like an oscillator control, an octave control. Which is great, which is really great. I haven't tuned this oscillator, so I'll unlock it first just to let's get both oscillators droning, I think, and then I'll just tune them first, and then and what I'll also do is I'm going to reset the Oxy as well. I'm just going to do it so we're going from a completely clean project here. Clear project. Yes. Okay. Right. So I'll have track 1 on the Oxy feeding twin waves oscillator 1, and then track 2 doing the same. So let's put it into a nice minor key. I'll set the other oscillator to follow that, to harmonize to that, in fact. Okay, and then I'm going into my configuration mode here, and let's just make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, I want to I'm sending in a second gate into our VCA envelope there to trigger it from channel 1 and 2. So I'm going into my CV mapping here. I'm going to say output CV1, track 1, track 2, and then these are both set to be in volt per octaves, and then the gates this side, I'm going to say gate 1 is going to be track 1, gate 2 is going to be gate 2. So fingers crossed that should be fine for our well, let me just change, let's have this so it doesn't go to sleep. Infinite, yeah. Okay, that'll stay up now. Okay, so now if I put in, I'm just gonna scatter in a few notes just willy-nilly on both channels, and then we'll get something going here. I'll try and make more musical sense out of it. Oh no! First things first, I should just put them into tune. Yeah, this is set to be in a poly scale, a poly sequencer. I want it to be a monophonic, and that one is a monophonic track as well. Yeah, cool. Okay, should be good now. Let's just make a long note on there. Let's clear that. Long note on there too. Okay, I'm just going to tune these, and then I'll use that lock function. Let's turn off all our modulation, and then oops. Yeah, it's finicky. It's really good that you can lock this. Okay, that's oscillator 1, oscillator 2. Turn that down. Get them doing it. So then I can lock them, and then lock that. Lock. Okay. So now if I start getting okay, I'll try and get something musical happening here. Oh. Oh. It'll make most sense. Why is that not harmonizing? Oh, hang on a minute. This is horrible. I'm just going to sort this out a minute. Channel 1. Oh, I know why. We can't harmonize to a yeah. I'm trying to harmonize to a mono track. You can't do that. So I'll just set them both to the same scale. C minor. Okay. Sorry about that. It sounded horrible. It'll sound better now. Well. Oh, no, it doesn't. Yuck. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. So what you can do The volt per octave input on the twin waves, you can choose how they work. So like a long press on the oscillator button, and there's 3 modes you can set it to. Separate, which is what what I thought it was going to be in, added and offset. So if it's adding, then it will combine the inputs of both volt per octave inputs. It'll add them together, so both will follow the same thing. But you can, I guess, there's some interesting stuff you can do with that, and then or you can put it in the offset mode, where you can apply some offset onto one of the oscillators. But I'm going to put them into separate mode. That's a terrible description then. Okay, now that should mean that we... Oof. This is still a horrible thing. It's just... I'm just going to put some... Ugh! Look at this. This is horrible. So now we have to try and save the day. Ugh. I'm going to wipe these. Start this again. Sorry about this. People are going, what's that noise? Ah! Right. What I'll do is I'll make a really simple little 4-step pattern. I'll copy that and I'll paste that. Okay. I think I'll make life easy for myself, and I'll set them to both be sine waves. Should give me a chance to kind of get it all a little bit more in tune. I mean, if I was cleverer, I would... Cleverer. If I was more clever, I would just... Oops. I would just do this, wouldn't I? If I had more sense. This little thing can be a tuner as well, which is super handy. Put that. It's C4. Yeah, that's close enough. So now then, once I've got them close enough, I'll press them 2 buttons now. Locked that. Okay. Oscillator 2. Oops. Unlock. And I put this to C4 as well. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's close enough. I think a few cents, a little bit of movement there. Lock them. And then, as if by magic... All right. Oh, gosh. Okay. I'm glad some of you stayed with me through that. Okay. I'm going to set both of the envelopes just to be very simple attack decay envelopes. Okay, and then let's just... I'll just do this for now. Okay, we're in business now. We can do some funky things. All right. So, 2 sine waves. Let's get some more interesting patterns on the go here. You can do loads of cool things on the Oxy. You know, it's got like, I can hold a step. I could say, you know, trigger. I'll give that step a 60% chance of playing. I'll give this step 72% chance. This one, 60% chance. And it starts to get cool once we start to get the gates, the releases are long enough to span any gaps when triggers don't play. Okay. This is cool, isn't it? This kind of stuff is always cool, I think. Putting in if I made the decays short, actually, let's do this for a moment. This would be quite nice. So let's bit of delay. Oh, we should sync that delay. Let's sync it. Give me a cable long enough. Yep. Echo. Yes. I'm gonna think about some interesting mapping here. Let's change up the oscillators, a bit more decay on them again. Back the effects down. It's so tempting just to crank the effects up. Bit of reverb as well. Ring mod and noise. Okay, let's do that. So, let's go to the circle icon on here, which is our ring mod. Noise. Resonance. Get actually, the resonant noise model gives us a bit more pitch to work with. Haha. Yeah. You just need effects when you're getting into this kind of sound. We're going to go very stereo now. Drop down a few octaves. Slow attacks. Ah. Yes, so I just pulled out any modulations. So oscillator 1 is modulating oscillator 2's parameter. Let's get in closer. We can't really see very much there. And then oscillator 2 affecting oscillator 1. Whoa. So this is like hard panned now. The left and the right. Oscillator 1 on the left, oscillator 2 on the right. And this dope for a stereo filter. Let's just do some. Let's just do some quite funky things to the stereo. Yeah. the distortion. Oh, that's the distortion is actually the oscillators affecting each other. They'll get a lot cleaner now. So having this oscillator control is great. Yeah. It's really fun. So I've got an output of PAMs that I'm going to plug in to modulate oscillator 1. Let's set that now. Slow, put some real slow modulations in. That's quite nice. I'm tempted to bring in a chord track now, and I'm going to set last week's star, the bread and butter. I'm going to bring that back in, just so we can have some fun. Okay. Chords. I'm going to set these tracks now. I think this is the killer feature of the Oxy, where you have other tracks. Like I've created a chord track now, track 3. So I'm going to say our 2 melodies that we've got going. They're going to follow. Set a 4th track up. Back that resonance up a bit. see what our new bread and butter's doing. Track 4. So we've got a little chord, a sort of little bass line. Let's see if we can make that a little bit. It's like, it's not the greatest sounding thing, but it's sort of... Okay, let's bring our other ones back in now. Let's So I'm just sort of changing the oscillator modes. Bring some of the filter off the Oneroy in now. Have to be careful with the resonance on that, it can get quite fierce. Nice. So just I'll just back out the bread and butter again. So we're just listening to the twin waves. Bring it dry again, just so we can return back to our like starting thing. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm going to probably wrap up pretty soon. So if anyone's got any questions or would like to ask me anything about this, I mean, not, oh gosh, there is a whole area that we haven't looked in, and that's the, well, I haven't done anything with the pitch quantizing on the module, or haven't done anything with the AM input as well. FM AM input. I mean, this you can configure into a whole bunch of things. I wonder whether we should look at that now, or whether that's something to hold back for again. And yeah, as I mentioned, the quantizing, there's lots of quantizing potential with it as well. And the syncing as well. Oh, there's loads. This little thing has got loads of stuff built into it. Yeah, I think it has a lot of character. I mean, you know, the different modes have got, well, I think there's quite lots of different characters inside of it. But yeah, yeah, this FM AM input, yeah, you can set that then. I think that's just for oscillator 1. Yeah, it is. So oscillator 1 gains this quite powerful function then, which is this middle jack here. Let's just read some of the functions that can be set to. So that's where you would control it if you wanted to plug into its use it as a VCA. Yeah. So a long press on this. Let's go to oscillator 1. A long press on this button will tell us what it's cross. Oh, so it's like that's yeah, bipolar 0 crossing. And then so that's that can sophisticated frequency modulation of oscillator 1, which is at the same time bipolar. The modulation behavior is mirrored between positive or negative modulations. In other words, the wave direction is reversed twice over the full positive negative modulation span. Through 0, the oscillator slows down to a stop before time reversal of the wave, an increase of the frequency, and then symmetrically crossing the 0 frequency point. The maximum frequency of the reversed wave of full modulation is strictly identical to the one when modulation is at 0, whatever the initial frequency is. Yes. So moving swiftly on from that, we've got FM, a moderate linear bipolar control, which is added to the pitch of oscillator 1. VCA, which I've used it quite a bit with the VCA, so amplitude control of oscillator 1. So without any control voltage going in, you won't get any sound out if you're in VCA mode. The quantized bass note, so the voltage will define the bass note of the oscillator 1 quantizer. That's kind of an interesting feature. And then the algo mode, and the algo lets you kind of change which algorithm it is. So actually, let's leave it on the algo mode, and let's put something into that. So we've got an input from Pam's going into it. Oh, off topic. What headphones are these? These are actually these are worth mentioning. They're the Rode ones. I think they're Rode's first headphones, and they're really good. I do quite rate them. Right, hang on. So let's get something into this algo and see what happens if we change the algorithm of what. So what I'll do is then I'll turn off oscillator 1, and let's get this going. Let's get something going on here. Sorry, I'll turn off oscillator 2 rather. So we're just going to have something playing from oscillator 1. I'll do for now. Okay, so let's see what happens. I haven't done this before, so might go all horribly wrong. Okay. So I'll just put like let's divide by 4 the clock, so oops, let's see what we're doing. Okay, let's start coming out of here. Have I misunderstood what this can do? Let me just have a quick read again. This is a meta control. Bipolar voltage sets an algorithm away from the currently set manual. Yeah, note that the parameter set. Yeah. The LFOAM stays off. The algo LEDs flashing once every 2 seconds. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what our just double check I've set that this right. Yeah, algo, yes. Okay. I don't know if I understand that. Oh, let's try let's try setting Pam's off then first, shall we? Okay. Yes, we got action now. Right. So I'm just going to attenuate that a little bit. I know. I'm going to set it to just a square wave first, and then I'll play with the strength of that. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I've got it going now. Okay, let's try and see if we can. So we can see the square wave is just going between those two. I can change the strength of it. So to choose between which two we're going to be going. it's always going all the way full strength. I don't want it to do that. Let's change the rhythm of it. Let's speed this, so let's change it. Ha! Let's see what happens if we go really fast with it. It's the fastest it can go. That's cool. So what happens if we send it slow? Yeah. Okay. Glittering. Yeah. I think it's a nice glittering thing. Okay, everybody. I think we've had a good old look at the twin waves tonight. Again, if there's any questions, now would be the time to ask. Don't know if I've missed any questions. So I'm gonna have a quick flick through. I do kind of get very distracted, so I'm sorry I missed most of the chat. But yeah, thanks ever so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed this tonight. I think it's a really excellent an excellent module. Yeah, thanks, Jack. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Redworks. Great. Yeah, so it's something that I'm quite drawn to modules which are, well, complete voices, which you can nearly do a complete voice with the twin waves, because as I say, it's got like a VCA. You can use that, which we were using to switch the algorithms. You can use that as a VCA, as mentioned. So for one of the channels. But definitely works better, though, I think, when you've got a separate VCA and some sort of envelope control. But I typically gravitate towards modules which are kind of self-contained ones, pretty much like the Oniroy or the Bread and Butter, where they're complete voices. It's just, I don't know. I think for me, my interest with modular does tend to sort of be more about notes than sound. I like the modular approach for note manipulations, using modulations for modulating what notes are going to be playing, rather than necessarily lots of timbrel shifts. I kind of like harmonic shifts. Maybe I maybe favor that more, but I'm trying to force myself to do more stuff with modulating timbres. I mean, I always do, but yeah, but I think I think I'm always interested in sort of standalone modules, I suppose. And to that end, I'm quite looking forward to getting my hands on the new ALM MCO Mark II. I think ALM Busy Circuits are really fabulous module makers. They make the PAMS Pro workout here that we were using, but also the MFX as well. I'm sure many of you will be aware of them. But yeah, they've got a new module that's just about to come out, or they've announced it, but it's going to be available to buy, I think, from next week, I think, but that is, it's got some similarities to the twin waves in as much as you can choose different algorithms. I think in that one there's 7 different algorithms, but it's much more a complete voice because it can have internal envelopes, and in some of the modes have got filters as well. So, and that's even smaller. That's 6 HP. So I really like to get my hands on one of them. But yeah, it's that sort of thing that really interests me. Really, is having in relatively small amount of space, lots of voices, lots of kind of tonal options, as opposed to having lots and lots of modules dedicated to one voice. Again, it's something I want to do more, one voice through a whole sequence of modules. But yeah, as I say, I tend to gravitate more for lots of voices. The Oxy sequencer really likes lots of voices because it's got loads of channels, so that sort of works with me. Anyway, I am now waffling. Oh, look, Tom, IntelliGel stopping production of the Rainmaker. No, I haven't heard that. Oh, that's quite sad. I think that's a really cool module. Big module. That's okay, but yeah, maybe it's had its time. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, good riddance to the Rainmaker. Why is that? You'll have to justify that now. I've had a little look at them. Oh, so Tom's saying that there's a post from him earlier saying the last batch being released forever. But I mean, that is a big module. So I'm not sure that I've got the space for one, but I would love one because they're one of those that's a module. It's like a real instrument. There's so much you can do with it. But yeah, I don't have that one. I do though have. I was looking for it. It's somewhere. Where is it? Oh yeah, yeah. I've got the C legs from IntelliGel, which is not as Tom. You've got one, yeah. That would be fun. The C legs is, I mean, it's a different kind of approach to delay from the Rainmaker. But it's a reasonably big module. Hey, incidentally, that was nearly a disaster. But that little case is so super simple. We've just got a little headphone output module, the C legs, and a radio music from Music Thing Modular, and that is a lot of fun. So the little radio music can just, you can have anything on a little SD card, and then I find that thing just endlessly fun. And the reason why I put that C legs into that little case was just because I was using the C legs in a very kind of just like a delay, really, and which it is just a delay, but it just gives you plenty of control options on there. And I was woefully underusing it. So if you do something like that and you put it into a case there, then you have to explore all of the possibilities of it. So really recommend doing that. If having a small case, that you can do things like that with, I think, just to really learn, it's great for learning a single module. No modulation in here or anything, so you are having to just self-modulate with your hands. Anyway, I am waffling, as I said. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining me. But yeah, Tom, when you said that, it'd be great to get you back in the show. That's Tom, who was with me, probably about 6 weeks or so ago, where we did a stream about the Polyend synth, which I've got to be honest, I'm having a lot of fun with. It's a really cool instrument. The more time I spend with it, the more I really enjoy it. So yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, the little stream that Tom and myself did, Tom made lots of the presets for it. So if you see a Mr. Tom K in the preset list, that's this very same Tom. Hey, I see your head just in time to say goodbye. But yeah, we're just wrapping up, but nice to hear from you. But yeah, thanks everyone. And maybe I should play out perhaps with something. I think it would be rude not to, wouldn't it? Okay. What I think I might do here though is I might try and get some Hiya, Kent. Good to see you, man. Thanks, Tom. That's really kind of you. Okay. Well, actually, seems we've got some of the old gang in. May as well hang on for a little longer. Yes, Kent. Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. You are a scholar and a gentleman. So what I'm doing here then is I'm just bringing in, oh sorry, the camera's not set up very well for this. This is the Oneroy, the Befacco Oneroy that we were using for our effects. But it does have this rather meaty super saw, which you can also augment with a sine wave as well. So if we get that droning, let's get our little sequence. Let's make a new fresh sequence on here. Let's just do it super simple for now. It's about as simple as it gets. Okay. Hello there. No drums, Kent. I haven't got anything plugged in. Ah, you're inspiring me. I did notice that Erica Synths are just releasing the Percons as a module, one of the drum voices as an individual module, which I think would be really cool. That sounds great. I do have the LXR module, which is something the Erica module, the Erica drum module is brilliant. I should get, actually, Kent. I think I'll set that up actually for maybe for next week. Yeah, okay, sorry, a bit of a rubbish jam there, but okay. Defam, yeah, I got one behind me. That is great, actually. The defam is a lot of fun. I'm just not very fast at the defam. I'm just not very good at getting from. I just go from getting a nice patch into nonsense. I need to work out how to get from one nice patch to another nice patch, I think. It always generally sounds pretty cool, but... All right. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for joining me. I am going to go now. So, yeah, great. Thanks ever so much. Please consider giving this video a like if you did indeed moderately like this. Always helpful. And, yeah, I'll be back soon. Thanks a lot. Again, thanks. Brilliant. All right.